Have you ever prayed and wondered if your words vanished into the air the moment they left your lips? Have you ever knelt down with tears in your eyes, asking God for help, and then stood up feeling the same weight still pressing on your chest? What if the silence you heard was not rejection, but preparation? What if the delay you feared was actually proof that something far greater was happening beyond what your eyes could see? There was a season in one man's life when prayer felt useless. Not because he did not believe in God, but because he believed God had stopped listening. Every day felt heavy, every night felt longer than the last. His heart carried questions he was afraid to ask out loud. Questions like why his efforts never seemed enough, why peace felt so far away, and why answers never came when he needed them most. He had grown up hearing that prayer changes things. But nothing around him was changing. Bills piled up, relationships grew distant, his strength faded quietly, the way a candle burns down without anyone noticing until the room is almost dark. He smiled during the day, but inside, he was exhausted. One night, unable to sleep, he sat on the edge of his bed and stared at the floor. The room was silent, but his thoughts were loud. He had reached the point where words felt unnecessary. Yet somehow, prayer found him anyway. Not as a speech, not as a performance, just a broken whisper. God, I'm tired. That was all he said. No long request, no explanation, just honesty, and that was enough. The Bible tells us that God is close to the brokenhearted, not impressed by the strong. Prayer is not about sounding powerful. It is about being real. And in that quiet room, with no one watching, real prayer rose. What the man could not see was that the moment he spoke, the atmosphere shifted. Prayer does not always change circumstances instantly, but it always changes access. When you pray, you step into a conversation that reaches beyond time, beyond fear, beyond human limitation. Days passed, and life continued. Problems did not disappear, struggles remained, but something subtle began to happen inside him. The panic that once rushed in without warning now paused before taking control. The fear that once shouted now whispered. Prayer was strengthening him in ways he did not yet understand. Scripture is filled with people who discovered this same truth. Hannah prayed through tears when her heart was crushed by disappointment. She prayed so deeply that no sound came out, only tears. Others misunderstood her silence, but God understood her pain. And in time, her prayer turned mourning into joy. Elijah prayed when the land was dry and hopeless. He prayed when there was no visible sign of rain, yet he trusted what God had promised. He prayed again and again, sending his servant to look toward the horizon. Nothing, still nothing, until a small cloud appeared, no bigger than a hand. That small sign carried enough rain to end a famine. Prayer does not need big beginnings. It only needs faith. David prayed while hiding in caves, hunted and betrayed. He prayed when fear surrounded him and when enemies closed in. Many of his prayers were written as cries, not praises. Yet God called him a man after his own heart, not because David was perfect, but because David always returned to prayer. The man remembered these stories. He realized that none of these people prayed from comfort. They prayed from pressure, and pressure is often the birthplace of powerful prayer. He kept praying, sometimes with words, sometimes without, sometimes with faith, sometimes with doubt, but he kept showing up. And every time he did, something unseen was being built. Prayer began to reshape his thinking. He stopped measuring God's presence by his comfort and started recognizing God's presence in his endurance. He realized that strength does not always feel like power. Sometimes strength feels like the ability to wake up again, to try again, to believe again when everything inside wants to give up. There were moments when he almost stopped praying. Moments when disappointment whispered, "What's the point?" Moments when silence felt louder than hope. But each time, a quiet reminder rose in his heart. Prayer is not wasted breath. It is seed, and seeds take time. Jesus once spoke of prayer using the example of persistence. A woman who refused to stop asking. A friend who knocked late at night. Not because God is unwilling, but because persistence changes us. Prayer trains the soul to trust even when results are slow. One night, as the man prayed again, something different happened. Not a miracle, not a vision, peace, real peace, the kind that settles without explanation. The kind that doesn't remove the storm, but steadies you in the middle of it. The Bible calls this peace beyond understanding. It cannot be reasoned, it cannot be forced, it can only be received. That peace carried him through days that would have broken him before. Days when bad news came. Days when nothing went as planned. Days when fear tried to return. Prayer became his shelter, not his escape. Slowly, prayer changed from something he did to something he lived. He prayed while walking. He prayed while waiting. He prayed without speaking, trusting that God knew his heart. Paul and Silas once prayed in a prison, chained and beaten. Their situation did not look hopeful. Yet they prayed and sang, not because the chains were gone, but because God was present. And when the prison doors opened, it was not just their freedom that came, but the salvation of others. Prayer has a way of reaching further than we expect. The man began to notice doors opening quietly. A conversation at the right moment. Strength to forgive when bitterness once ruled. Courage to let go of what no longer served him. None of it felt dramatic, but all of it was purposeful. Prayer had trained his heart to recognize God's movement. He learned that prayer does not mean the absence of struggle. It means the presence of God within it. He learned that unanswered prayers are not ignored prayers. They are often prayers waiting for the right time. Scripture says there is a time for everything. Prayer aligns us with that timing. Looking back, he realized the season that nearly destroyed him had actually rebuilt him. His faith was no longer borrowed from others. It was tested, personal, and strong. He no longer prayed only when things went wrong. Prayer had become his foundation, not his emergency plan. This is the invitation prayer offers to everyone. If you are listening now, carrying a burden you rarely speak about, understand this. Heaven is not silent. God is not distant. Your prayers are not lost. They are being woven into a plan you cannot yet see. Prayer is strength for the weary. Prayer is hope for the waiting. Prayer is light for those walking through darkness. Even when answers delay, prayer sustains. Even when fear rises, prayer steadies. Even when life breaks, prayer rebuilds. Do not stop praying because you feel weak. Pray because God is strong. Do not stop praying because the answer is late. Pray because the promise is sure. The strength of prayer is not in how loud you speak, but in how deeply you trust. And the God who hears whispered prayers is faithful to finish what he begins. So keep praying, keep trusting, keep believing, because the same God who strengthened the brokenhearted long ago is still listening today. And your prayer is stronger than you think.